opportunity to welcome you to our Black History Month Assembly. I'd like to thank Ms. Smith for her hard work, along with the committee, Ms. Casca, Ms. Eccleston, Ms. McNeil, and Ms. Lockwood, who's not here today. Let's give them a round of applause. I appreciate your hard work and organization skills. Thank you very much, committee. Ms. Smith?
So I'd like to welcome you guys to our Black History program. We're so excited to highlight not only some of the contributions of some African Americans, but also the history of the United States Postal Service. So how many of you guys have ever mailed a letter? How many of you guys have ever collected the mail from the mailbox and brought it into the house? And so there are so many different parts and so many different people who make that process happen. A lot of the people that you see, like your mail person, the person, whether they're walking or driving their mail truck or delivering it in their big bags, you guys had an opportunity right before break to research a person or an activity. Write it out or type it out onto paper. It went from you to your teacher into the mail bags. You guys remember the mail bags that you had? Right? You got to decorate them as a class. And then that bag was collected. It was taken to another location, sorted out, read, put back into the mail bags, and then redistributed for the next day. That was the idea of it. Things got a little muddled, so we may modify a few things for next year. But there were several different parts that go into delivering your mail. We have a few important things that we'd like to share with you, and I would like to invite our 6th grade students, Silas and Divine, here to share some things with you.
Her most recent book, Forever Clone, tells the story of the slave trade. Black Survivor and was published more than 62 years after her death.
Carter G. Wilson. He served as dean at West Virginia State College.
Excellent job. You know what, you guys, it looks a little different from up here. So I think that the guys are doing a great job of speaking. A year and a half ago in June, a dear friend of mine, Herbert C. Thorpe, came to speak to us, our 5th and 6th graders. When he came here, he drove the 16 miles from Rome, New York, on his own as a 99-year-old man. I asked him if he wanted help backing into a parking spot that was open. He decided to do it himself, and he did an excellent job of doing that. I'd just like to share a little bit about Herbert C. Thorpe, because he was a Tuskegee Airman who made a lot of contributions that he was very humble and very quietly spoken about. And if you didn't do your research, you would not have known about all of his accomplishments. Documented original Tuskegee Airman, 2nd Lieutenant Herbert Thorpe, is not your average male in America. He was a living legend, and he surpassed many averages. Born in New York 101 years ago on January 9th, 1923, Mr. Thorpe had exceeded the average life expectancy, and he and his younger brother, Richard, both have a place in history for their military careers as Tuskegee Airmen. The The Tuskegee Airmen was an all-black regiment of fighter pilots. They are the only unit during World War II that never lost a plane. They protected other planes, and they protected every other plane with excellence. They are the only unit to never lose a plane. The training included gunnery and primary flight training, multi-engine aircraft training in the B-25, and navigator and bombardier training, meaning that they would fly their planes over to Europe, where the enemy was during World War II. And they were responsible for not only protecting the other fighter bombers that were flying through and bombing the bad guys, but they would also launch attacks on the bad guys. After the war, he retired with the rank of second lieutenant colonel and returned to New York. He is one of the forefathers of the air traffic control system in use today. You ever watch these movies, and a lot of the games have this, where you see the radar system, and you can track where the airplanes are? You've never seen the radar? Adults, have you seen this? Remember the airline? Right, because they track it, and they tell you where the objects are located, where the planes are. They use it to find things deep in the ocean. Mr. Thorpe was part of that committee to create that, to make it. He worked at the Brooklyn Navy Yards as a radar systems engineer, and then as a radar research engineer at the Rome Air Development Center, Griffiths Air Force Base in Rome. He retired from the military in 1982. The Tuskegee Airmen flew and protected their fellow airmen during the Second World War. They were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal for their vital or necessary contributions during World War II. Sadly, Mr. Thorpe, who lived in Rome, New York for 65 years, passed away peacefully on January 28, 2024. So let's talk a little bit about the Postal Service. Does anybody, grown people included, because it's kind of a trick question, know who the very first Postmaster General was of the United States, appointed on July 26, 1775? What do you think? Hang on, guys. Who? Any guesses? Now listen to how I said this. This is the first Postmaster General of the United States, appointed in 1775, July 26th. Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin. Now the trick is that he replaced a gentleman as the first Postmaster General in the Americas, but he was the very first Postmaster General of the United States. He helped unite the newly independent United States after the what war? Revolutionary War. The Revolutionary War gave us our independence from England. So the Postal Service was created because it held the American colonies together. They didn't have cell phones or all of the social media that we have today. So they made sure that the mail was delivered as quickly and as independently as possible to the colonies. And that's how they kept them together. Because you know how you go from one state to another state here, where your money is the same wherever you live, for those of you who've been to other states? When we were first established as the United States, we had been independent states. So New York had their money, Connecticut had their money, Pennsylvania had their money, Virginia had their money. And now we are united. And one of the big things that united us was the Postal Service. 3 months after the battles of Lexington and Concord, the Continental Congress turned to Benjamin Franklin to establish a national post service as the very first Postmaster General. A multitude of African Americans have contributed to the successful operation of the United States Postal Service over the years. Notably was stagecoach Mary Fields. Mary Fields was not an ordinary woman. She was the first black woman to work for the United States Postal Service. She was born into slavery, and upon her freedom at the age of 33 years old, at the end of the American Civil War, she worked on the Mississippi Steamboat. She established a whole school for Native American girls. She worked hauling freight, meaning stuff that you see in the 18-wheelers going down the highway. So she would carry the stuff. She would move it herself from one place to another. She took care of chickens. She did laundry. She did construction. And she built things and farmed. She was an extraordinary woman. So she was a very large woman, meaning very tall and big, who wasn't afraid of much. So in 1895, at about 60 years old, she began working as a star route mail carrier. So she was a postwoman. She earned the name Stagecoach Mary because she used a stagecoach, which is like a horse and buggy, to deliver the mail in the worst possible land and the worst weather. She never missed her delivery, ever. You know, the motto for mail carriers is whether it be rain, sleet, snow, or hail, they're going to get the mail delivered, and that was partly because of people like Mary Fields. No matter what the weather was, no matter how hard it was outside, she was going to get that mail delivered. When the snow was too deep for her horses, right? You know how big horses are. When the snow was too deep for her horses, she got out on foot, used snowshoes, and she carried the mail sacks on her shoulders because that mail was going to be delivered. Okay? All right, you guys ready for another reading? Okay, so nowadays, the United States Postal Service, you have all kinds of different ways of mailing things, including UPS, FedEx, MailShark, DocuPost, emails, text messages, Snapchat, and a whole bunch of other social media things that I don't even know about. So, who can think of possible positions in the mail delivery in the Postal Service? What do you need? I kind of mentioned a few of them earlier. Positions like people, jobs. In 2011, forever stamps were introduced. The most recent forever stamp is John Lewis, who was a civil rights activist. I looked up the forever stamps, African Americans on the stamps, and I was trying to find it on my phone right now. Screens and screens worth of people who are represented on the stamps. So when you have a minute, look up U.S. postal stamps and just see all of the different people who are on the stamps. Look and see which African Americans are on those stamps. A forever stamp, and you can see the amount of postage, right? Like we used to have 1 cent stamps. You guys don't even know about that. So stamps used to be 1 penny, and now they're 63 cents, 60 something. I lose track because they're forever stamps, which means that whatever the amount is that you purchase them in, it's good. It's good forever. Forever stamps that was introduced in 2011. As you walk by the main office, or think about how letters and packages and so on get mailed every single day, think about how many countless people, including the ones that we named here just a minute ago, men and women helped to make that happen. It is a major process. It's a major undertaking. So think about how many countless people contribute to our daily lives from the skies to the ground. Who's driving? Who invented what? Who is working behind the scenes to make it happen, make things easier? Okay, we have another reading.
Between 1910 and 1930, Illinois African Americans were Southern states. This is known as the Great Migration.
In 1947, Jackson Columbus was started. He became the first African American to play in the baseball. He played for the Brooklyn Cardinals, a team that African Americans were not allowed to play in the league.
Here's a question for you.
The answer to your last question, there's well over 100, starting in 1940 with Booker T. Washington, of African Americans who have been black leaders, inventors, educators, scientists, entrepreneurs, entertainers, and athletes.
Wow. What year was Booker T. Washington the first black man?
1940.
1940.
1940 he was the first man on the stamp, first black man.
So 1940 to 2023, there have been 100 and...
Well over 100. Didn't give an exact number. Just said well over 100. I've got the list of the names. I didn't have time to count them.
It's a lot.
Yes, I scrolled for a while.
Yes. So now, the reason that we specified African Americans with the Postal Service, African Americans who have been recognized on the postage stamps, African Americans who have contributed to our lives here, all across the world, African Americans who have participated. The who are you? You see me? Or do you merely look at my surface, my surface? Sure, you see me, my face, my clothes, my shape, my frown, my smile, my... Do you really see me? Do you care how I feel, how I became? Do you care if we are different or the same? Will you see me to speak to me beyond just knowing my name? Do you care if I'm scared, nervous, in pain? Are you scared, excited, confused, afraid? We come from greatness, the countless ancestors, some known, others nameless, men of endurance, women of status, all special and unique. I wish they could have met us. Their stories, experiences, hardships, and triumphs all went into making us, us. You be you, I'll be me. We're wonderful and special. I hope that you can see. Now, the reason that was written was because I recently worked on Ancestry.com and discovering who my roots are, where I come from, going back in the line of people. There are so many people who make up who you are. Maybe you know where you come from. Maybe you know your heritage. Maybe you don't. Maybe you know it to a small extent. I followed one line, just one line, to the 1600s. It's a long time ago and it's a lot of people. So when you look at you and you think about who you are now, think about all of the people who went into making you you. Think about all of the things that they did in order to survive and keep your family going to make you you. That's what makes you special. When you look at another person, think about who they are and be accepting, be loving. We talk about filling buckets here, right? You can't pour from an empty bucket. Be a bucket filler. Be kind to each other. Help each other. Celebrate each other and celebrate you. I thank you guys so much for your time. I would like our two leaders to stand up and take a bow. I think they did an awesome job. I thank you guys for being an amazing audience. Remember to celebrate yourselves and celebrate each other.